Hello everyone and welcome to Avantika Designeering series or ADS as we like to call it. Every week on Wednesday, we feature design and technology leaders who share their professional journey, their thoughts on their domain of work, and designeering where the world of design and engineering meet. Make sure you follow us on social media Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And with that, let's continue with your show.
When it comes to business value, designers can transform markets by conveying these senses and values to all the stakeholders. With a deep understanding of consumer needs, designers need to connect the dots between market and design objectives to create business value. It can help develop meaningful and accessible products that provide a positive experience and improve people's lives. So, how can designers adopt a multidisciplinary approach and bridge the gap between business and design? To know more about this theme, in this episode, we interact with Blessing Philip, Senior Design Manager at 3M. With over a decade and a half of industry experience across automotive, industrial, consumer, architectural, and healthcare domains, he holds expertise in industrial design, product design, design strategy, brand experience design, and much more. And that's why on our journey of discovering designeering, we talk to him about the business enabler, design. Hello, Blessing. Welcome to Avantika Designeering podcast series. Thank you so much for making time for this conversation today.
Thanks, Rohit. It's my pleasure to be here.
Great. So, Blessing, as our icebreaker question, the creative skills of a designer aren't worth much until you put them to use daily. But how do you make time for that when we are always glued to our screens? How do we ensure that we set the right priorities, eliminate distractions, develop personal honesty, and follow the good practices to live a fully centered life that will ultimately be mirrored in our design?
This is a great question to get started, Rohit. Pretty relevant to the time that we are in. And it actually reminds me of an article that I read about Isaac Newton, how he described the year of the bubonic plague as years of wonders. He developed the calculus, theory of optics, and the theory of gravity during that time when he was under quarantine. Right. This certainly has a lot to do with curiosity and having that creative drive to explore and do things. And I think this is really relevant in our current times too, right? And it kind of reflects in design too, identifying new challenges, being aware of how our consumption patterns are evolving, and basically experimenting with new tools. Because when we eventually overcome this pandemic, as science has always done, right? The world would have changed for better. And we would realize that our old templates and the old models might not fit the new norm. And knowing that our past models might not be very useful for solving our future problems. Right? And that's where I think the ones who are curious and creative will probably adapt and move faster and thrive.
Wow, that's an interesting outlook, lesson in terms of how do we go out and connect the dots. Interesting. In fact, moving from that icebreaker lesson to your journey with over a decade and a half of expertise in product creativity, brand experience planning, market value building, and talent growth. In fact, with expertise in the automotive, industrial, consumer, architectural, and healthcare industries, we would love to learn about your professional journey. How did it all work out? Did it work out as smoothly as it looks on an LinkedIn profile screen, or were there turbulences?
I think it's more of going with the flow. As a child, I loved drawing and craft, and it was I was really passionate about that. I also love the beauty of machines, cars, and bikes. And back in those days, I was not aware of industrial design as a profession, and engineering was the closest to what I enjoyed doing. And then it was in my final year that I saw a seed poster that kind of changed my life, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I joined IIT Delhi for the master's program in industrial design. And I was actually fortunate enough to have an opportunity to follow my heart and take that road less traveled. Because there in IIT Delhi, it was about learning new things, about exploring this desire to create something new, and more about new ways of learning and understanding, right? Getting close to users, and also realizing that design happens outside the four walls, right? And how you experience things. So designing new wayfinding ways, designing gadgets, motorcycles, or just helping seniors with their projects in crafting in mock-ups and prototypes. It was a really beautiful time. And then from there, joining 3M was like entering a candy store of technologies, products, and new possibilities, right? And this culture of curiosity and very high standard of ethics. So my initial years at 3M were focused on automotive projects because of my background, my previous job. And I worked with some of the top OEMs in India, developing graphics and decals. And there, I really learned about attention to detail and developing a good graphic sense. And because 3M gives its employees 15% time off from work to pursue any work that they are passionate about, and there was no pressure from the management on that. Rather, they would encourage people to do things that are outside of their scope of work. And I used that opportunity to do product design. And one of the first products that I developed was actually a toilet brush for the Scotch Brite brand. And soon we were developing products for multiple brands within 3M for healthcare, transportation safety, industrial. It was this period of inventions for us. And I still remember a few decades back it was like a decade back in a market cleaning that we did in Delhi for Scotch Brite kitchen cleaning product. In a blind test, when asked about the Scotch Brite product, the respondents said in Hindi, "ये ग्राहक के तकलीफ समझते हैं." Uh, and this basically means that they understand our difficulties. And for me, it was really profound, and it just opened my eyes to the responsibility a designer has in creating meaningful solutions for the user. How many brands do we say the same thing about? So the third phase of my career in 3M was about being radically customer focused, bringing our brand to life for other designers, helping them in their creative process through material exploration. And it has really strengthened my belief in collaboration and bringing people together to solve complex problems.
Lesson. In fact, your career has ranged from becoming an engineer to earning a master's degree in industrial design and then doing management studies at IIM. Quite an interesting blend of technical plus creativity plus business aspect. You've you have worked hard to enable a system level approach to product creativity, brand experience, and market growth that is heavily focused on creating business value with deep understanding of customer need. The question that I have for you there, lesson is how has this influenced your design psychology and thought over time?
Rohit, I believe I've been really fortunate to be in places where there was enough room to explore and do things that I found joy in. After my engineering degree, I was selected for Air Force, and at the same time got admission to the design course in IIT Delhi. And there was a 6 months period for me to join the Air Force, and I decided to give design a try, and actually fell in love with the late night obsessing over form and function, and understanding users and crafting new products and solutions. And I realized that that's what I wanted to do. And And also in college, you get an exposure to many new ideas. Not all of them they need to be as equally important for making your work meaningful. And you tend to find meaning in few of those ideas when you start solving real world problems. Similarly, when I started my career in Hero Motors and later in 3M, I've had the opportunity to do things that I was really passionate about and learn what mattered the most to me. Another equally important aspect is the role of mentors. Along the way, I've had the chance to study and work with few amazing classmates, colleagues, managers, and mentors. And their thoughts have hugely influenced my approach to design. I think that I have probably learned early in my career the importance of surrounding myself with great minds, people from whom I can constantly learn. And college is an amazing place to make great friends for life, who to a great extent influence your thought process too. So, what I've come to realize is that to solve complex problems, one need to have a system level approach. You need to bring in multiple aspects that you can consider. And today, I have a firm belief that design is a powerful innovation tool that can solve these complex business and social problems to really improve our lives. So I look for ways to humanize technology in every opportunity that I get. And this has helped me connect brands with the end user and connect at a deeper emotional level. So it is a delight when I'm able to inspire others beyond their imagination through design.
Wow, that's interesting, Blessing. Hey, we've heard so many times about this interesting cultural policy of 3M about spending 15% of your time on developing on project of your own. So do you necessarily develop project in your domain or in the area of the business that the organization operates in? Or you could be going wild with your ideas. And how does this, especially with all designers coming with creative ideas and new energy to the entire thing, how does it work together?
See, it really gives an opportunity for any employee in 3M to explore things that they are passionate about. It need not be connected to the business. You're encouraged to work beyond what you've been asked to work at. So you would look at things that you care about the most, and then you would bring that back. And there are ways to reward these ideas and to nurture these ideas. And we have seen many new businesses come out of these ideas that people have brought. And you should also understand that this is the best way for the management to really tap into the exposure that people have with their end users, because it is based on their experience and it is not a top down mandate, right? It is what the employees bring in to the organization from outside. So this is something that designers really enjoy, and they really utilize this to bring out new ideas, to discuss new ideas, to change the way we think about new opportunities that are there.
So, Blessing, as designers, there's one observation: we must avoid forcing consumers to conform to our designs and instead produce something that is fundamentally adaptable to them. We don't want people who still have anything going against them to have the rest of the planet working against them as well. The question that I have for you there is, how can designers comprehend the significance of accessibility in design and incorporate it into the design process?
Here, I have two points of view on this aspect. One is, of course, like we discussed earlier, to being aware of the unique needs and challenges of the user is super critical. We need to start with the user and understand their needs. And we also looked at how easily designers tend to look at the average and forget the extremes or the edge cases. And it's important to look at these two. I'll give you an example. We once developed a cleaning tool that had a foot operating mechanism, and realized the flaw in it only when we gave a mock-up to some users. They couldn't use it with their wet barefoot because We never considered that as a scenario. We never considered users being barefoot in a wet condition to use that cleaning tool. So that's where we realized that we need to be more aware of what are the different ways our products are going to get used, what are the different ways users use our products in their environment. And that brings us to how designers need to be more inclusive to understand these needs. On the other side, I believe designers should look beyond creating only great human experiences. Designers have a big role in influencing behavioral changes for a more sustainable future. And this is a more difficult problem to solve. But we have to take that first step so that we look beyond just experiences and look at making the right choices for a sustainable future.
Hey, did you know 3M's very high bond VHB tape is used in the metal cladding on Dubai's massive Burj Al Arab Hotel, which can endure temperature of up to 230 degrees Celsius? So, Blessing, coming back to 3M, 3M affects every aspect of its customers' lives. With you and your design team at 3M, the unthinkable becomes feasible. As some of the most recognizable brands in the portfolio, you use research to improve people's lives every day. The question that I have for you there, Blesson, is as a design team leader, how do you accelerate teamwork through geographies, organize events with design teams and agencies, and inspire them to explore new material possibilities?
No, I can think of three ways that we do it really well. The first is being a creative catalyst for collaboration, and this is core to how 3M operates. It's about bringing people together to solve complex problems. We have always seen that if people get together with a common purpose and the right environment is created for them to work together, amazing breakthroughs happen. But it's also a fragile environment, and culture and the stories that we tell play an important role in maintaining it, and it requires work. We need to work on building these collaborations and creating that environment where people can actually work together. The second is about building customer intimacy through business partnership. The question is, how can design get up close with customers? It is through great business partnerships. Design is no longer a back end work stream anymore. Right? Designers need to spend quality time with customers to understand their needs and aspirations. So, having that customer intimacy is extremely important. The third is using design cultural drivers. In 3M, we focus on design professionalism, storytelling, human centric approach, and technology exploration, among many other design culture drivers. It's important to look at these motivations. Everyone wants to do great work, but do they have the freedom to do it their way? Right? So we focus on what we call as design culture drivers to get people to work on things that they are passionate about and bring out the best in them.
Wow, interesting. Absolutely beautiful. In fact, we are, of course, also able to respond to the fact that we have had a massive emphasis on the healthcare sector specifically. We've learned how dedicated is 3M to help medical professionals globally by increasing the manufacturing of goods that support the healthcare sector. In fact, so many individuals now using masks, um, uh, you know, uh, even probably are aware of that. Large chunk of these masks actually come from 3M. The question that I have for you there, Blesson, is how can we support design services and citizenship experience through service design and strategic forecasting as a designer?
This is an extremely relevant question for the current times that we are in, right? The pandemic has put a spotlight on our healthcare systems or the lack of it. And 3M not only increased production to support our frontline workers, but also ensured that the right products reach them in time, and even partnered with other companies and top research institutes to co create and enable development of new solutions. But when I think of what designers can really do, right, it is by understanding some of the trends and the challenges that the healthcare workers and patients are facing, right, before really getting into any technology or product. Because it's not just the physical products that are needed in this space and in this current time. There is a huge support system which includes need for right communication, data analytics, mental health support systems, and many more, where design can play a role in solving these problems. Let me give you an example. In a skill based volunteering program called the 3M Impact under 3M Sustainability Framework of Science for Community, 3M brings employees from across the globe to solve some of the toughest challenges in our communities. I was part of this program recently, and we did it virtually to help a healthcare NGO based in Mumbai. And we focused on developing their brand and communication strategy so that they could connect better with doctors, donors, and volunteers who would, in turn, then help serve their patients much better. So there were no products involved in that, but really about sharing our expertise and know-how, which really helped them build a solution that was much better than what they had. And it all boiled down to sharing our understanding and our learnings on design thinking and the scenario mapping, and basically understanding what the end user needs are, and the importance of empathy in defining the needs of these end users. So design can really play a big role beyond just products and related service solutions too, in the current times.
Absolutely well said. In fact, taking a cue from your answer in terms of product design and co-creation, which have become very very powerful mediums, we have to remember that empathy is important when planning future digital services. The future can be really terrible for others. Many individuals sometimes prefer alternative preferences and have different interests that do not match the perspective of the designer. The question that I have for you next, lesson is how can designers truly understand this and make a meaningful product for its customers?
See, I believe that designers must start by understanding the end users' needs, their desires, their aspirations, and their anxieties. That's absolutely the starting point. Right? If they do that, then uh, the chances of going wrong is very less. Right? You will be able to understand some of these alternate preferences upfront, because you understand their needs, and not just the needs that they articulate, but also the needs that they are unable to articulate through observation. Right? And you get to know some of these edge cases, because a lot of time people focus on the mainstream, right, the average, and based on data or observation they just look at what's mainstream and forget to address what are some of these edge cases. And that's where the real insights lie on how people might struggle to use a product, or how they might be using it in different ways from what you have plans for. Right? And a way to bring that out is by building personas, and designers do that all the time. It's just that they need to go deeper into understanding something that's beyond the obvious, right? Beyond what they see, linking what they see into or connecting the dots to make sure that they decode these unique preferences and patterns, right? And time needs to be spent on doing that. A lot of time designers are rushed to come out with insights, and what they come out with is just information and data. But if you take care in building your personas and understanding your user and their preferences and patterns, you get to see the reason behind why certain things are happening. And that helps you to understand the complex ecosystem into which your solutions must fit, right? So that you're not struggling to change that ecosystem to fit your products, but you're getting your products and solution to fit into this ecosystem that makes it useful for your end user.
Wow, interesting. In fact, while you mentioned about user personas, the research is another important element when it comes to design. And when you communicate your point of view, you will sometimes have a much greater effect. In fact, you must connect the dots between the market and design objectives. To do this, we use all available business data to demonstrate how powerful design can be. There's a lot of research that successful design affects the companies as well. The question that I have for you there, Blesson, is how do designers help to transform markets or say products in companies by transporting sense and value to the end user? And 3M is known to do that with a variety of interesting product both in B2B and B2C segment. So maybe you could touch upon a case from your experience as well.
True, and I think this is because design is a business enabler, right? And we need to realize that it is truly a business enabler. And to realize its true potential, one has to start with the business problem and then from there take a step back to understand the real needs that the customers are facing, right? The challenges that they're facing. So you have a business problem and then you take a step back to understand the real customer challenges. This needs to be done before design objectives are framed. Often designers are happy to start with just the design objectives without asking the tough questions around the why, right? Why are we even doing this project, right? And these questions take time. It disrupts the flow, but they are really important in making that difference. So that transition from the business problem to the design objective is an important process to create the right level of impact. And you need the right design talent and process to unlock this true business potential by adding value to the customer.
Exciting. In fact, while you were talking about this, I was thinking about the future studies as a practice, which are concerned with the plurality of the future itself, the fact that there's no single future. In fact, there are several options available to us, and the choices we make now take us to the future. The question that I have for you next, Blessing, is how can you convey the effect that design will have on an organization to stakeholders, and what obstacles do you face in doing so?
That's an interesting question. And my response to that is don't a designer's mind live in the future? They have this ability to decode complex patterns and create narratives of what the future could be, right? And the beauty is that they can do it from different points of view. This approach allows for exploring various possibilities that actually become choices for the stakeholders. It gives the stakeholders a peek into what that future could be. But you should also understand that you can never have all the information when you start off, right? That's why you need to study trends, and one should also be agile in our approach to dealing with the complexity of an evolving system. And few ways of talking about the future is through scenario mapping, visualization, and storytelling. And designers do that all the time, right? Well, the core part of what they do is to build these scenarios on, which are basically future scenarios of what could happen based on what they observe today, and they are able to visualize them and tell that in a story that connects at an emotional level.
Hey, did you know for the sixth year in a row, 3M has been designated one of the world's most ethical companies by Ethisphere, a powerful statement about the significance of honesty and integrity at 3M. Wow, absolutely well said. In fact, this is one of the ways for the customers to connect and engage, with an organization deeply, and that's why we see there's so much of loyalty that customers hold with the products that they use. And I've been a loyal 3M customer for last couple of years in terms of certain consumer products. The colorful post-its that we keep using at design school and at our offices is something that comes from 3M as well. And while we've been talking about these interesting products, your journey, and the trends in the world of design, let's start talking about blending technology here. New generation of designers, Blessin, are taught to combine technology and business, allowing them to move more quickly through diverse spheres and link more dots. And you are an example of that. Conversations between multidisciplinary people are becoming more common, and design thinking aids in bridging the divides between our ideas. The question that I have for you there, Blesson, is can design thinking expand beyond its current focus on products, services, and experiences to become even more upstream out there?
Rohit, it's good to know that you are using some of our iconic products. Right? I hope you keep using them and enjoy them. Uh, to answer your question, I feel that design is already moving upstream because it is truly a creative catalyst for customer insights, collaboration, and brand experience. If you look closely at the problems designers have been solving in the past 2 decades, it's clear as to how strategically important design is to a brand. Design is already defining and solving business challenges with a broader approach beyond just products and solutions. But the real challenge in moving upstream, however, is our ability to broaden the scope and understand the real impact of the problems we are trying to solve. Design thinking helps ask the right questions to these problems. It also empowers the stakeholders to accept ambiguity in a very structured manner. It puts them in a comfort zone, at the same time pushing them to move beyond their comfort zone. Design also brings diverse minds together, creating an inclusive environment for great ideas to thrive. But you should also realize that all this can slow down the process initially. And people tend to like agreement more than disagreement, right? And that's why we need a certain level of maturity and a strong design leadership for design to thrive in an organization. For design to truly move beyond just products and services and experiences, designers need to look beyond just design objectives. That's what I think. I feel that understanding real business challenge and the brand's need is critical. Knowing the trends and the user's ecosystem well goes a long way in how you can move upstream. And with that, you need to build good partnerships because you can't solve all the problems yourself. You need to find the right partners to work with. And within your organization and outside, you need to be a design thought leader. Right? And all this comes together to really push you up the stream.
Wow, that's an impressive thought, Blesson, and quite well said. Like your other thoughts as well, when you speak about thought leadership. And while continuing talking about technology, as creators, we're responsible for ensuring that consumers have a positive experience with a product and a brand. So we must consider how technology is transforming that experience. How do you think industrial design will evolve in the future, taking into account issues such as AI driven tools and generative design, as well as whether this will change the position of the designer in future?
A good question again. I think the future is really bright for designers. See, with all the developments happening in AI and ML, designers will actually have more tools to enhance their understanding of user behaviors and pattern finding. Right? This will enable better and faster prototyping as well as testing of their solutions with a wider set of users. It'll enable them to focus on more complex and wicked problems because of the solutions that you have with all the technology that you have at your disposal. And we are already seeing how this is enabling the creation of better brand experiences that connect with customers, right? Taking healthcare into more remote locations and improving accessibility for many. These are few examples of how AI and ML are actually helping designers solve more complex problems.
Well, that's interesting. And how interestingly, rather than looking at as an area of concern or challenge, how do you actually use this, empower yourself to design better is an interesting thought process. Sticking on to that, lesson, technological advancements have now given companies all over the world a tremendous edge. There's also a dark side of it that we cannot ignore. The question that I have for you there is, how do we build an ethical framework for the future?
Rohit, this is a great topic for actually a whole chat series. We are witnessing the power of data and how it can be used or misused. Designers really have a role to play in influencing positive change by being the voice of that end user within the organization. And for this, designers should pay attention to the complexities of data tracking and trade. Right? That's just one part of it. Another one is the impact of behavioral design. Right? To give you an example, we are working on making roads safer by understanding the non-cognitive behavioral aspect and how design can decode them. And this is going to go a long way in making our roads safer and saving lives. But on the other hand, we can see that these studies on behavioral aspect can lead to threats like dark patterns UI that influences behavioral changes, right? How do we really overcome these? And then the third one is around inclusive design, right? As you know, that every design decision has a potential to include or exclude customers, right? So how do we work around these topics? I believe that it boils down to upholding human rights, establishing high standards on usability and user experience.
Wow, interesting. And lesson, while we really wish to continue the conversation with you, but due to paucity of time, it brings us to our last question. At Avantika University, we've coined the term designeering, which is the blended approach of design and engineering. The question that I have for you is, do you think these terms can converge and meet at the same point? Do you see that this is a valid philosophy?
I believe that designers and engineers work together to create great products, and it's the convergence of their skills that drives success for brands. And I think it's important to understand the difference in how they approach the same problem. While design focuses on creating options, keeping the end user at the heart of the problem solving process, engineers obsess over optimizing solutions for manufacturing. And both are critical to the success of the product. So, what matters is whether you understand the different strengths and the point of view that both bring in creating value for business and the end user.
Wow, that is interesting. Thank you so much, Blessing, for joining us as a part of this conversation, as a part of our show. I'm sure there's a lot for our listeners to take home from this conversation. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Rohit, for having me.
Hello, Samyadeep. And continuing our conversation ahead with you, what I wish to know from you, Samyadeep, how do you see branding as a domain evolving, and what are the exciting areas that we can expect in the branding domain in the coming days?
Well, Rohit, that's a very interesting question once again. Branding is going to be evolving, because it has to reflect the changes in the consumers' minds and the way consumers react to, cues. I mean, visual cues and design cues. So, one very important thing that is happening is, today all of us, I mean, the consumers, we are very aware of the different kind of messages that are going around, different brands that are coming up. So you got to be really very very cautious in terms of how you go about portraying yourself. Another important thing is that the entire life cycle that of a brand to go and establish itself has kind of, according to me, slightly reduced. So now you don't have to necessarily wait for uh, mm, a longer period to go and create an impression. Influencer marketing is something that is coming up really strongly. Technology intervention is also something that has increased. So all in all, one can say that consumers are very aware, they are receptive, they are wanting to listen to the right things, and brands have to ensure that they are going about making the right pitches using the mediums effectively, and most importantly, they are creating an engaging promise with respect to the products and services that they are wanting to offer. So going forward, I see the relationships between brands and consumers getting even more stronger. Lot of participation, lot of user generated content coming in, and the relationship has to go um, ahead from being just a transactional one to something that is far more stronger. And technology also is going to play a very important role there.
Well, that's brilliantly put, Samyadeep, and I completely align with your thought process in terms of how all these stakeholders and external elements need to come together to create this entire success. However, what I also wish to know from you is how is this new branding evolution specifically impact entrepreneurs and family owned businesses in your opinion?
Right. So let's talk about entrepreneurs first. Now, when you go about starting a business, obviously the operational issues, they take precedence to begin with. But at the same time, it's also very important to understand that essentially you want a lot of attention to come to you. You are probably eyeing for an investors, to come up and invest in your idea. You are wanting to attract quality talent to be part of your vision. Now all of this is not possible if you are not communicating the promise well. So although there might be an impression that, okay, a new company may not necessarily need branding, but the fact of the matter is entirely the opposite of it. If you are a new company, you need it even more. So a lot of entrepreneurs are kind of aware of this now, so I find that they are more receptive to the idea. There are also certain myths which are associated with branding. Sometimes it is mistaken with advertising. Therefore the question of having a big media budget comes up occasionally. But then I find that entrepreneurs are more aware nowadays, and everyone understands that you got to go and create an impression there. You are in a competitive space, so it's very important to get noticed. It's very important to create the right kind of buzz around your enterprise and the promise that you are wanting to deliver. And when we're talking about family owned businesses, the same thing applies even there. Mostly because in case of family owned businesses, you would have the new generation taking over. Most of them probably have taken education from abroad, or probably gone to institutions where they have learned about modern marketing, or how one should go about doing the branding in the right manner. And when they come back and when they are wanting to join the family business, they would probably want to act as a change agent, or want to make the relevant changes and want to essentially up the game. And that's where branding becomes very, very crucial, because in case of family owned businesses, you got to kind of bridge the gap between the previous generations, or the previous generations thought process, and the new generation's ideas. And that synergy is very, very important, because there is a lot of things that can be taken forward, which are part of legacy, and it can be blended with new ideas, new perspectives, and something very interesting and relevant can be created. And that's where Tricycle comes in, and we want to work with family owned businesses and entrepreneurs, and allow them to go about leveraging the potential of strategic brand building, and go about creating a greater promise out of their ventures.
Wow, that's absolutely well said, Samyadeep. This was a really amazing conversation with you across the entire month. Thank you so much for doing this and inspiring and guiding our listeners. We are sure some of our listeners would like to engage with Tricycle in much more depth, and they will reach out to you through the social media channels. Thank you so much, Samyadeep, for doing this with us.
Thank you, Rohit. It's a pleasure.
Hey there, we hope you enjoyed our show. Do write to us on ads@avantika.edu.in. We look forward to your opinions, feedbacks, and suggestions of speakers you would like us to host on this show. Do tune in our channel next week on Wednesday for a new story on Hubhopper or wherever you get your podcast from. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter.